The plan to strengthen Ukraine is the Victory Plan, which I presented to our partners. One of its key points is long-range capabilities for our army. Today, there's a lot of talk in the media about us receiving permission for respective actions. But strikes are not carried out with words. Such things are not announced. Missiles will speak for themselves. They certainly will.
This is my video update on this Monday early evening, November the 18th. Let's talk about some news. And oh boy, has the professor done it now. Professor Biden, according to Axios, according to the New York Times, according to Reuters, according to all of the collective West mainstream media, the professor has given Ukraine permission to launch ATACMS into pre-2014 Russian territory. Biden taking the world towards World War III, right? This is, after all, Russia's red line. Russia had two red lines. Two. The first red line was stop the whole NATO nonsense. And we saw what happened when that red line was crossed. Stop poking the bear, stop provoking, stop all the NATO nonsense. Tell Zelensky in Munich Security Conference 2022 to shut his trap about Ukraine getting nuclear weapons and entering NATO or else. And the collective West did not listen to what Russia was saying, and we saw what happened. The SMO followed the Munich Security Conference a couple of weeks after that conference. So that red line was crossed. And now we have the second red line, which is long-range missile strikes. All the other stuff that the collective West goes on and on about with regards to so many Russian red lines that have been crossed and Russia did nothing, that's all BS. These were red lines that the collective West leaders, media, they placed these red lines. They attributed these red lines to Russia, and then they come back and say, well, we've crossed these Russian red lines. So they were playing a propaganda game with all the other red lines. But Putin was very clear. The Russian government has been very clear. Long-range missile strikes into Russia, and well, F around and find out. That was pretty much Russia's message. Let's cross here. And well, here we are. Here we are in a couple of days, according to the media. Zelensky's going to launch missiles into Kursk. The reports are, if you believe these reports, that they're going to target Kursk. According to some of the reports, the Biden White House is telling them just focus on Kursk. This is what some of the media is reporting. But in a couple of days, the ATACMS are going to be launched towards Kursk. Now, what does that mean? I don't know. Is it going to be Kursk? I don't know. Maybe it's a fake out. And they're going to strike another area of Russia. Are we talking about the Kursk nuclear power plant? Are they going to go after that? Are they going to target civilian infrastructure, civilian targets? Because you always got to get into the minds of these sociopaths, these psychos. They still believe that if they can cause enough damage, enough chaos in Moscow, then the Russian people will rise up and remove Putin. So are they going to try and hit other targets because they think this is going to get some sort of palace intrigue and some sort of regime change? I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't even know if the missiles are going to be launched in a couple of days. I imagine, yes, I imagine Zelensky is going to launch those missiles into Russian territory in a couple of days. But here's the thing about the missiles being launched into Russia, which is what Putin said. This is not Zelensky and this is not Ukraine that will be launching these missiles into Russia, because Ukraine doesn't have the capability to do such a thing. It's the United States, the US military, that will be launching those missiles into Russia. It's the US that has the capability, the technology, the surveillance, the targeting. They're the ones that are going to launch the missiles into Russia. And according to Putin, in his statements, he said this is going to be an act of war on the United States towards Russia. I don't know if he actually used the word war. I think he did. I'm not sure. But yeah, that's basically what Putin was saying. And that's what all the expert analysts, military analysts, they all say the same thing. Ukraine cannot launch ATACMS and long-range missiles into Russia, pre-2014 Russia. It's the West, it's NATO, it's the US military, private contractors, whatever. They're the ones that have to send these missiles into Russia. And that takes me to the story that Le Figaro was reporting right after the announcement came about Biden giving permission to Ukraine. Biden giving permission, right? As if Biden is the one that's making the decisions. To a certain extent, he is the person that has to sign off on this stuff, right? But anyway, I'll get to that in a bit. Le Figaro, the French publication, they came out with a story, a report saying that France and the UK, they have also given permission to Ukraine to launch Scalp and Storm Shadow missiles, but they've walked back that story. Le Figaro, actually, I think they've deleted that story. Because the truth of the matter is that even the Scalp and Storm Shadow missiles, they cannot be launched without the United States, because the missiles have US components, US parts, and even more than that, it's the US technology that can do the targeting. So even Storm Shadow and Scalp missiles, if eventually, which I imagine eventually there will be, the green light, the official green light from Macron and Starmer to launch missiles into Russia, it's really the US that is saying, yes, we're going to also operate the Storm Shadow and Scalp missiles, or give you the permission as well as the targeting and all of that stuff to launch the missiles into Russia. So at the end of the day, it all comes back to the US. Even though Macron and Starmer, they want to be very tough, right? Starmer wants to show that he's got big balls. Macron wants to show that he's kind of got big balls, even though we all know that Macron has itsy bitsy tiny balls. But, they want to show that they're big and tough because they can take on the Putin. Right? That's the measure of a man. If you're a collective West leader, and you've got balls, then you talk tough to Putin, right? So they're itching to make this announcement, right? Big bad tough Macron and Keir Starmer. But yeah, so Biden, angry old man Biden. He's angry at Putin because Putin always outsmarts him and always outplays him. He's angry at Harris, right? Because Harris became the nominee. He's angry at Obama. Absolutely angry at Obama because, well, Obama coup d'etat'd him. Angry Biden, man. Angry at everybody. And so, he had to sign off on this. One last FU to the world. That's how Biden sees it. I wouldn't try to analyze the Biden White House and their decision too much, that they're not playing 5D chess or 10D chess or whatever. This is Biden, Sullivan, Blinken. I imagine that Newland is somewhere floating around as director of the NED, board of directors with the NED. All the usual neocons. They're floating around somewhere as this decision was made. Biden's angry. he's pissed off at the world, and this is his middle finger to everybody, right? That's Biden. Sullivan, I think Sullivan's easy to figure out. You know, Sullivan has been resisting the green light for long-range missile strikes, and Sullivan being the person that was pretty much in charge of U.S. Foreign policy. He was the United States president of foreign policy, Sullivan, over the last 4 years. But, you know, I think Sullivan, at the end of the day, Sullivan is, as I've said many times, he's a campaign guy. He's not really an intel guy or a diplomat or even a politician. He's just a campaign guy, campaign manager. And so I imagine that, you know, the Democratic Party, the deep state, whatever, they put the screws to Sullivan and they said, look, you're on your way out. You're leaving in a month or two. Step aside. Don't get in the way of these long-range missile strikes, and you'll have a nice, cushy, comfy job waiting for you on some campaign or somewhere in the DNC or at some think tank or whatever. And Sullivan said, yeah, whatever. I'm not going to resist anymore. Not that he was resisting that much, but he was saying it's a bad idea, pretty much, to green light the long-range missile strikes. But they got Sullivan to step aside. I imagine it wasn't that hard. Blinken's been all for this from the very beginning, from the get-go. Blinken has been for escalation because Blinken has a hatred for Russia. He's an ideologue. He's a true neocon. Blinken is a neocon in a neo-lib wrapper, right? He's got a neo-lib wrapper, but deep inside, when you unwrap the blinkety Blinken, what you get is hardcore neocon. So that's how I think we got to this decision. All of this, of course, is about sabotaging Trump, right? You don't want a smooth transition. You know, Biden, what a dick move. Excuse my language, but I mean, what a prick move. Biden is sitting with Trump a week ago at the White House, and Biden's sitting there for 2 hours with Trump, and he says, I'm going to make sure you have a smooth transition, and all of this stuff. And they only talked about Ukraine towards the end of the meeting for 5 minutes. That's it. Biden just said, don't abandon Ukraine. That's it. And Trump said whatever. I don't know, whatever Trump said. But that's it. They dedicated, out of a 2-hour meeting, they dedicated 5 minutes to Ukraine, to Project Ukraine, which is odd because I think that was the first red flag. Because, you know, Project Ukraine has been Biden and his family's obsession for the last 15 years. And Biden's presidency was all about Ukraine. Biden's entire 4 years, America, United States, Biden's entire 4 years, everyone that's watching from the US, was all dedicated to Ukraine. He became president for the sole purpose of regime-changing Putin and balkanizing Russia and pushing Project Ukraine. That was the only reason he became president. That was the only thing he was focused on. That's all he cared about was Project Ukraine, right? But he's sitting there with Trump, and they're laughing and they're getting along, and then a week later, after Biden says, I'm going to make your transition smooth, what does he go and do? He green lights the attack zones because, you know, it's all about making Trump's presidency, the transition, making it as chaotic as possible, and trying to make sure that the conflict in Ukraine can last a little bit longer, that the conflict in Ukraine can definitely last past January 20th, and that the Trump administration is boxed in. They're hoping for an escalation. They're hoping to create the conditions where Trump has no other choice but to continue to fund Ukraine and continue to support Ukraine. That's what this is all about. Ultimately, this is the poison pill from the Biden administration to Trump. Now you know why why Xi Jinping told Biden to his face. Multiple times he told Biden, Blinken, Sullivan, he said to their face, he would say, you guys are two-faced. You speak out of both sides of your mouth. You say one thing and do another. The Chinese are on record saying this to the Biden White House multiple times. The Chinese figured them out. The Chinese diplomats, man, they figured out the Biden team from the get-go. So what happens what happens if the missiles do get through? And there's a real possibility that the missiles, when they're launched, that one or two will hit something and will do damage. What does Russia do? I don't know. A red line will have been crossed, and Russia's going to do something. They're going to definitely make the United States pay for this. That's my sense of things. I don't know how. I think it's going to be asymmetric, right? Taking a word from Victoria Nuland's vocabulary, it's going to be asymmetric. It could be in the Middle East. It could be with the Houthis. Oddly enough, in a weird way, this may strengthen Iran, because maybe Russia is going to say, okay, you want to play this game? Well, let's load up the Houthis on weapons. Let's load up Iran on weapons. Could be something like that. In Syria, the U.S., here's the thing. The U.S. is exposed everywhere. Like all around the world, the U.S. is exposed. And France, the U.K., there's all kinds of ways that Russia can retaliate and respond. In many instances, in a non-military way, or via proxies. In a military way, but via proxies. There's all kinds of ways that Russia will retaliate should a missile get through and do serious damage. Outside of that, with regards to the conflict in Ukraine, it's not going to make a difference. Russia's won this thing. Russia is going to win this thing. And there's no missiles, no long-range missiles that are going to make any difference. The Scalp, the Storm Shadows, the ATACMS, eventually the Germans are going to fold, and they're going to send the Taurus missiles. Then Russia's going to punish the Germans in one way or another. They'll find a way to punish the Germans as well. It's going to happen. Well, all the long-range missiles are going to be given the okay. It's not going to make a difference in the conflict, and all it's going to do is it's going to put the U.S., the U.K., France, and Germany in danger. And when that retaliation is going to happen, who knows? Who knows? It could be short-term, it could be long-term. So that's the situation. The New York Times, Biden allows Ukraine to strike Russia with long-range U.S. missiles. The Washington Post, Biden approves Ukraine's use of long-range U.S. weapons inside Russia, reversing policy. The Kiev Independent, Kiev plans to conduct first U.S.-supplied long-range missile strikes on Russia in coming days. Then you have Zelensky. Zelensky said, missiles will speak for themselves. That's what Zelensky said. But strikes are not carried out, this is a quote, but strikes are not carried out with words. Such things are not announced. Missiles will speak for themselves, President Zelensky said on November 17th. It's all scripted. He's just reading a script. He's the comedian, actor who wears high heel shoes, just reading his lines. And now we know the reasoning behind the whole North Korea thing. This has been planned, I imagine, by the neocons, the neolibs, the globalist warmongers, the political elite warmongers. The whole North Korea thing has been planned for about a month. Are there North Koreans training in Russia? Sure, they're probably in the East training. Are there North Koreans in Kursk? Who the hell knows? Let's just say there are. But they hyped this up. They know that 10,000 North Koreans or 3,000 North Koreans makes zero difference. But they got hold of this story. They hyped it up for the past month because this is the excuse that the Biden White House is giving for green-lighting the long-range missile strikes into Russia, into Kursk. And from Kursk, they're gonna try to escalate it further out from Kursk. But now we understand the whole reasoning behind the North Korea thing. They've known for a month plus that this is where they want to take it. And I imagine for the past month, they've been going back and forth with Sullivan and Biden, mostly Sullivan. The Pentagon is not a fan of this. The Pentagon does not want this, but they've needed a month to convince them to finally, or at least to get them to back off. I don't even want to say convince. They've needed a month to get Sullivan and the Pentagon to just back off, get Biden to sign off on this. And the excuse is going to be the North Korean troops, which makes zero sense. What connection does having North Korean troops in Kursk, what does it have to do with long-range missile strikes? Zero. I think Bloomberg posted an article yesterday saying that there could be 100,000 North Korean troops in Russia. I was just joking around when I said that one day in a video, I believe I was in Cyprus, when I said, you know, eventually they're going to start with 3,000 and they're going to go to 5,000 and 8,000 and 10,000 and 12,000. And one day they're going to come out and say 100,000 North Korean troops. I was just joking. I was just joking. Now Bloomberg is coming out with an article saying 100,000 North Korean troops. Next week it's going to be 10 million North Korean troops. So look, the mystery about the North Korean stories, I think, has now been solved. The purpose of it all. And of course, Zelensky was given the scripts, what he was going to say about the North Korean troops. He was given the scripts to read because they knew that sooner or later they would get the okays from everyone that they needed to get the okays from so that they could escalate. And the news is that the Europeans, they're like cracking open champagne. Hooray, whoopee, World War III, hooray. I mean, can you be any dumber than the European leaders? They're like celebrating this. What are you celebrating? Jeez, these guys. They're celebrating their own destruction. It's weird, man. Absolutely weird. The one guy sent out, the guy from Lithuania. What's the dude's name? I think I have his tweet somewhere here. Or maybe I don't. Oh, here we go. I think this guy's from Lithuania. He's a real warmonger. Nausėda, Gitanas Nausėda. He said the day has come. He's all happy. Ukraine can now target military sites in Russia using long-range missiles. This is a decisive moment in Ukraine's fight against the aggressor Russia. Peace cannot be achieved through weakness. Peace is the reward of the strong. Stay strong, Ukraine. You notice how all these EU leaders and Zelensky's team, they repeat the peace through strength line because they think that's the way they're going to sweeten up Trump. If we say peace through strength, then Trump is going to like us. If we say peace through strength, Trump is going to reward us. He's going to be nice to us. Let's just say peace through strength. So they're all saying peace through strength now. That's the only way that peace can be achieved is through strength. Trump should retract that line. He should just retract it. The peace through strength thing he should say is done. I don't want to talk about that anymore. Yeah, so these guys are celebrating. They are cracking open champagne. That's what the reports are saying. They're happy. They're happy that they're destroying themselves. What does that tell you about European leaders? That tells me that they honestly believe. I think these guys really do believe that with the long-range missile strikes, they're going to accomplish something and they're going to get regime change in Russia. We've been through this before 1,000 times. Abrams tanks, Challenger tanks, Leopard tanks, Javelins, HIMARS. It's the same thing over and over again. Yay, we're going to win. F-16s, now we're going to win. HIMARS, now we're going to win. ATACMS, now we're going to win. And we saw that the ATACMS are crap. The Russians dealt with the ATACMS easy. The Scalp and Storm Shadows, they gave the Russians a little bit of trouble. They gave the Russian military trouble, but they eventually figured it out. We've been through this so many times, this wonder weapon stuff. So what happens when this wonder weapon fails, which it will? Russia will defeat this, and they're going to continue to annihilate the Ukraine military. If something gets through and hits Russian territory, the Ukrainian people are going to pay the price. Not this Lithuanian guy, not Macron, not Starmer, at least not yet. Soros is happy. Alex Soros, he posted a tweet saying, "This is great news." Can you imagine that? Soros is happy about this. That tells you everything you need to know. If you're wondering with the whole Ukraine thing, if you're on the right side of history, just reference Soros's post on X, where he says this is great news, referencing the Wall Street Journal. He's referencing the Wall Street Journal, which is saying that Biden has authorized long-range missile strikes. There you go. If you ever have doubts, if you're on the right side, just go to Alex Soros's tweet, his post. So anyway, we'll see what will happen. We will see. Russia's going to absorb this, and eventually they will win the conflict. And at the end of the day, defeating the collective West, defeating NATO, the capitulation of of NATO, which is what it's going to be, is going to be that's going to be the most painful thing for all of these globalists. So Turkey, Erdogan is trying to, from what I understand, he's trying to freeze the conflict. And Peskov said, no, not interested. Every now and again, Erdogan comes around and he talks about a conflict freeze. Peskov shut it down immediately. Like immediately, Peskov shut it down. And we have the G20, I believe, is taking place either today or tomorrow. I think Lavrov is in Brazil. I've seen videos of him with Lula. So the timing of this is interesting as well. This was timed right before the G20 on a Sunday, right before the G20 takes place, so that Biden can be at the G20 and, I don't know, be the tough guy, be the man. He wants to be the man at the G20. He wants to coordinate with Stammer and Macron and all of his puppets in Brazil. What are the next steps? Who knows? The timing is interesting. Timed right before the G20. So anyway, I'm going to wrap it up with a couple of clown worlds. Actually, one clown world. And it has to do with Harris. We are getting some more information about the money spent by the Harris campaign. This is coming from Colin Rugg. The full price tag of Kamala Harris's town hall event with Oprah was $2.5 million, not $1 million, like initially reported according to the Daily Beast. A bombshell new report reveals how Harris burned through, get this, $1.5 billion in just 15 weeks. $1.5 billion in 15 weeks. Here's where some of the money went. $900,000 spent for ad space on Las Vegas Sphere. She lost by 3% in Nevada, by the way. $2.6 million in private jet travel during a 2-week period in October. $2.5 million towards Oprah's town hall event. $9,000 on ice cream. Well, that must make Joe happy. Biden's very happy about that. $15,000 on Uber Eats and DoorDash. Oprah says she was not paid a dime, but admits her production company was paid. I wasn't paid anything. It was Harpo, my production company, right? I didn't get the money. Just the company that I own got the money. That's it. That's it. All right, that's the video, everybody. I'm going to end it there. TheDuran.locals.com. We are on Rumble, ODYSEE, BitChute, Telegram, Rockfin, and X. Go to the Duran shop, pick up some merch. Today I'm wearing my Portugal flag long sleeve shirt. You'll find a link to the Duran shop down below in the description box. And hey, like this video, everybody. Share this video, subscribe to this channel. Help me get to 215,000 subscribers, if that's humanly possible. All right, everybody, take care.